GFN Global Filipino Network.
VILMA, live in LA, Season 4, Episode 3.
VILMA, live in LA. VILMA, live in LA.
Hi, and welcome to VILMA, live in LA on the GFN Channel. Okay, so tonight it's super special. We have 3 guests. Yes. So, Katrina Kusa, who is an author, an actress, and a singer-songwriter. Well, she'll be joining us in a little bit. And she's just an amazing, amazing young lady, accomplished already, and she has so much more. Plus, she's releasing a new single, Escape Room. So she's going to talk about that. Plus, part 2 of the interview with our Grammy nominee, Jeff Oster. Yeah, he talks about the journey to the Grammys. And Miss DIDI Caneda, Miss Asia USA 2019, 2020, and 2021. We have the heart to heart dialogue with her. She is just one beautiful person. So, that and much more right here on our show. In the meantime, our hello to all our beautiful people out there. You guys are the best. And continue chatting away because I'll be chatting right with you. So here we go. On with the show and on with Katrina. Katrina, an author, actress, singer, songwriter on VILMA, live in LA. Here we go, Katrina on VILMA, live in LA.
Sitting real pretty on my throne. Everything sweet like cotton candy. Self-made, did it on my own. Hey, it's a joke, they laugh at me. Don't know how it all went wrong. Didn't know life could be so
Good
sour.
evening,
No
hey
crying all
everybody
night
on
long.
VILMA live in
Cut the
LA,
power. Now we
and
got
this
dark clouds in
evening
my
is
view.
super
I'ma keep
special.
on running
We
from
are
you.
zooming
But I
over
got
to
guns stuck in
Boston,
my shoe. And
Massachusetts,
it's got me
and
in the
this
mood
young
for
lady, I've
reality.
actually been
Melting and
following her career for over a year now, and I'm so happy that we have her on the show. So I'd like you to meet an author, an actress, a singer, songwriter, beautiful young lady, Katrina.
Hi.
Hey,
Thank you so much for having me.
you're so welcome, and I'm so happy that we can connect. Okay, so you're fairly young. You started your career at such an early age, and I think you started writing a book. You're an author, you're an award winning, accomplished author. So, can we talk about that very first book you wrote?
Of course. So the very first book I wrote is called Kingdom of the Lizards. You can find it on Amazon.com, my website, katrinakusa.com, Barnes and Noble. And pretty much this book was about taking care of your environment. It's about
Yeah,
this girl, and she just loved animals, any creatures, big or small. And one day she saw this boy named Daniel, and he kidnapped the lizard in his jar. And she was on a mission to save this lizard, but it was actually the king of the lizards. And if the king of the lizards, got captured or was in danger, the kingdom of the lizards would be in danger as well. So she
Yeah.
had to go on this mission to save the lizard, the king lizard, before it was too late.
Wow. And how old were you or how young were you when you came up with this story? Because it's a beautiful story. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. I was
Yeah.
10 years old when I actually wrote the story.
I mean, I love the fact that children have this imagination, which is actually real, because there's so many worlds out there. And for you to be able to put that in a book, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, how happy were you when you first got your like real life physical book in your hand?
You like I think like then at that time I really didn't know what it meant,
Mhm.
but now like looking back, I am like super happy. Like I feel really accomplished, like very humbly like myself that I did such, a big thing when I was that young. But I think like when I was like 10 years old, I really didn't know like what it was. I just did it for fun, to be honest. I
Mhm.
would say a lot of my mom's like friends, they wanted me to publish this book.
Yeah.
So we just thought, you know what, let's just do it for fun. We'll see what happens. And a few years later, I'm still writing, and I want to do like a bigger thing out of it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the best thing about any form of literary form, music, anything that you do, when it comes from the heart and something that you love, is always the best. It always has the best result, and that's forever embedded, in your life and in the people's lives, that have touched it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And we'll actually talk about your new book as well that's coming up. But you have also transformed into singing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so was that around about the same age when you started singing, or I know you do piano too.
Mm-hmm.
I watched you.
Singing, like actually like writing songs, singing on the
Yeah.
piano, that started when I was 13 years old. And it's
Mhm.
actually a funny story. Just one day I just started playing chords on the piano and made a song, and my parents had the idea just to record the song in a studio in Orlando, Florida. So I did. And we didn't really like know like how to publish a song. We were pretty new
Mhm.
into the business. And of course, the music industry is really hard. It's a very tough business. But we met with like a few connections, and that's when I finally made the decision. I want to become like a singer. I want to, do this more professionally. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you're an overall artist.
I'm scared. Mom, I need help.
What's the problem?
I don't understand this.
What's the real problem?
I really miss Dad.
Sorry, honey. He said he was coming home next month.
It's coming on next month.
Oh my God.
And you're also an actress.
Yes.
Wow. So in film and TV, do you do stage as well?
I do. I do stage. I actually did a stand-up comedy act in Vitello's
Whoa.
in LA, Los Angeles, California. And I really would love to do it again someday. I had such a blast doing it. I really loved, that audience feel, that different experience. Like,
Yeah.
of course, acting on film and on TV is awesome. But when you're like performing in front of a live audience, it's a completely different feeling.
Yeah, you thrive on the vibe of the audience and vice versa. So you said stand-up comic. Did you have to prepare? How do you do that? Because whenever I watch other comedians, I am in awe at how natural, their comedy skit flows.
Yeah. So
How do you do that?
it was actually overall 4 weeks, like the whole
Uh-huh.
entire process. So I had to write the script,
Right.
the original, had to memorize it. I had to prepare for it. So I needed to really like know like how to get those comedy, things in, like how to make it funny, but not too cringy, not too cheesy. So, and that was something really brand new to me because I never did stand-up comedy before in my life. So I was
Yeah.
really working hard with my acting coach. Her name is Joey Paul Jensen. I absolutely love her. I would say she's like my guardian angel in the
Oh,
industry. Yeah, she really helped me find my manager, Marilyn Atlas, and my manager really helped me find my agent, who is part of BMG Talent Agency. So yeah, I'm really grateful to have, these people in my life. So yeah.
wow, you're working with very good people, which is good, because you are actually putting in all that effort. So you deserve having the best people around you working with you.
Back
Okay.
to how it was high on the sugar rush. I think I saw too much. I don't understand. Wicked games, they all just love to play. I'm trying to find a way back to Candyland.
Okay, so now let's go into your album. It's actually your single, right? You have Taste It, you have Candyland, and you've got Escape coming up. So
Yeah.
yeah, I listen to Candyland. I love, you know, your rap and the type of music. Actually, I'm familiar with the Indian type of music because I grew up in Hong Kong. There's a lot of the Indian community there, so I've been around that. So, how was it like doing this kind of music?
It's really interesting. Like I never knew like as an artist that would be my first song that I would
Yeah,
actually, release. But it was a really great experience. I had such a fun time working with the producer J2 on that song, also known as Indian Trap.
right.
And just like the different aspects of the Indian culture in that song was really fun, to incorporate. And just like as an artist, is such a unique way, to start pushing your singing career with that song. So
Yeah, I think it's good because your persona, and then the music is like marrying East and West.
yeah,
And I haven't seen anybody do that yet. So, which is
yes,
good.
yes.
I love it. And I love your different hair color.
Thank
And I'm just telling people what I see when I see your website and I see everything on social media. I'm going, I love her look. And this is like, I've been wanting to interview you for the last 2 months. And it's like, oh, I'm going to message her.
If you would listen to me once, there won't be a second time. You can't buy this kind of love. Darling, lightning don't strike twice.
Okay, so let's talk about you got your new book, right? And I saw that you were also pitching it to potential investors and publishers.
Yes, yes. It has been quite the process. Really hard process. Also like a little, stressful process, but I'm just getting through it and like hoping for the
Yeah.
best out of it. So the book is called The Strange Stillness of Time. It is a paranormal YA novel. It's completely different than Kingdom of the Lizards, which was, like
Yeah.
a children's book. This one, has more harder, themes in the story. And I just really hope that many people would enjoy that story once it will become published.
Katrina, an author, actress, singer, songwriter on VILMA, live in LA. So now let's talk about your music. And I also know that you have a different artist name. So we'll talk about that as well. Let's share it with our viewers.
So I'm also known as Wig, besides Katrina Kusa. A lot of people ask me, like, where did I get that name? Like, how did it come from? Because it's completely different than like Katrina Kusa or like
Yeah.
Katrina. So Wig is actually like pretty simple, like how I got that name. During COVID, my mom just started buying me wigs, and I fell in love with wearing wigs with all of my different, fashion and different outfits because I'm in love with the fashion industry. Just anything from like designer, vintage, secondhand, you name it. So I just really wanted this little taste with my music, and I just thought wig would be a good way to incorporate that. So yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, like I said, I was already captured by the different looks you have on social media. And
Yeah.
for me to be following you for a year, like, oh, she's interesting. So that really means you have an impact, you know, with the audience, with people around. 'Cause if you can capture me, you can capture the young crowd and also different demographics. So with that, what other areas would you like to um, pursue?
I would love to screenwrite someday. I would really
Ooh,
love to, create my own project with screenwriting, producing, directing, either a short film or possibly a feature film. That's like my very like dream to do that. So yeah,
yeah,
it's a
you
really
and I both.
yeah, it's a really big dream, but I hope I can make it possible.
Yeah, dream big and everything is possible. I totally, totally believe in that. So now we get to also the second fun part, if that's okay with you. These are fun questions that I normally ask my guests.
Okay.
And this is just like sometimes totally random. So here we go.
Right.
So, Katrina slash Wig, what is a fun day for you?
Ooh. A fun day for me is when I'm creative. Definitely. Yes.
Totally. I'm with you right there because I'm the same way. That's like I'm so happy when I like sit in front of the piano or I'm creating some videos, things like that.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. And then the next one, what is your favorite food or delicacy?
Ooh, that's a good
Mhm.
one. Especially because I love all types of food. I love Thai food. I love Italian food. I love sushi. Oh, yeah. So probably sushi. I would do that. Yeah, sushi.
Oh yeah, me too. Love it. I grew up in Japan as well, so yeah, familiar with it. Okay, so next question is, what's your favorite vacation place or favorite place to chill?
Oh, my favorite vacation spot's probably somewhere tropical. Like I would love to go to Hawaii someday. That's like my absolute like dream vacation. Yeah.
Yes, should be hopefully 2022 in the next 9 months or so. will be will
Hopefully.
be yeah, will be better. Okay, the next one is what makes Katrina smile?
If I'm with, people that are supportive, if I'm in that, place where people and I have, that same energy, that same feel, we get along with each other, that just makes me smile. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so this one, what's your favorite song that just when you hear it, even if it's your song, you break out into a dance or you just sing like even at the supermarket. I do that. I just went to the CVS and I heard something and I was going like this, and I was the only one in the store. So, what's a song you can think of?
I love No Rules by Dua Lipa.
Oh, so that's like you have to break out into dance and sing it.
Yes.
Good for you. Okay. Then the next one. What is the funniest moment you can remember?
Ooh. Probably the funniest moment I can remember is when someone was filming me one time when I was doing like karate,
Uh-huh.
and one kid in the background, I didn't even know who he was. He's actually like a really close friend of mine. He just started fooling around in the background, and that was super funny for me when I watched the video. Yeah.
Ah, that should have been comical. Yes. And then the next one is, what is the thing you love most about where you live?
I absolutely love the history where I live. There's so much
Uh-huh.
history where I live in Massachusetts. Everything is like from the 1700s, and they really maintain the history and the buildings really well. So it just makes that time period come to life.
Now that's the place I need to visit because I'm a graduate of Berkeley. So I have to visit.
Yes.
I did it online. Okay. So this one, who is your most inspirational person?
My most inspirational person is probably my mom.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
She's a sweetheart. She's like so um, dedicated and knows exactly how to, enhance the daughter, support you 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, number 9 is what is your favorite quote?
Ooh, my favorite quote. Well, I could say like I have a quote that I made, and I don't know if it's like a quote, but it's like I'm the girl who wants to make the impossible possible.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we could put Katrina
Yeah.
under that. Perfect. And finally, one word that best describes you.
Ooh, I would say grateful.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are such a warm-hearted, very intellectual person. You're really sharp. I mean, I've been doing a lot of interviews like in Hong Kong for 17 years, broadcasting, and then here. And so I know when I'm talking to somebody who is so sharp and so warm and so friendly. So I'm so happy for you. Kudos to your mom too. She raised you.
Sitting real pretty on my throne. Everything sweet like cotton candy. Self-made, did it on my own.
If you would like to know more about me, you can follow me on Instagram at IamWigOfficial, my Facebook, Katrina Kusa, Twitter, Katrina Kusa, TikTok, Katrina_Kusa, and if you would like to listen to my music, you can listen on my Spotify, Wig, my Amazon Music, Wig, Apple Music Wig, and SoundCloud Wig.
How it was high on the sugar rush. I think I saw too much.
And finally, do you have a message for our viewers out there? Anybody that would like to get into the industry or anybody, just to make them feel good?
Of course. So for those of you who want to, go into the film industry, acting industry, singing industry, writing industry, no matter what anyone tells you, just keep on going because, people are going to say bad things and cruel things. It's such, a cruel world out there. But just keep your head strong and just keep on walking because I know you'll get there.
And give me that quote again from Katrina.
The girl who makes the impossible possible.
Well, thank you so much, Katrina, for being on the show. And we will continue to follow your career. And we will support and keep promoting your upcoming single and also your book.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
VILMA, live in LA! VILMA, live in LA! VILMA, live in LA!
Do you have makeup on?
Yeah. Dad, I thought I was gonna. I like VILMA, live in LA!
And now we have Jeff Oster, our Grammy nominee, his journey to the Grammys. Now, your Grammy nominated album, the New Age album
Yeah,
called
brother.
Brothers, yes. What, which one is your favorite or, closest to your heart?
Song on the album.
Yes. I was listening to it earlier.
Right. Well, it's a toss up between the last two songs on the album.
Uh-huh.
There's a song that's It Had to Be Like That
Yes.
is the second to last song, and then You Make My Heart, which is the last song on the album. They both have meaning to me in different ways, I think. And I'll give you a little background on what the album, why the album is.
Yes. Yes, please.
I've been playing the trumpet since I was 8, and I started to release music in 2003. This is when I first started doing my own original music. Now, I lived in Los Angeles for almost 30 years, doing top 40, playing at Rubens and Baxter's and the Red Onion and Sutter's Mill and
I've done that.
all of that stuff, right? I did all that stuff, but I always knew I wanted to do original music. And before I moved to LA, I lived for a while up in Eugene, Oregon. And that was in 1977, 1978. And back then, a guitar player had introduced me to Will Ackerman and Windham Hill Records. Back then, it was the middle of the disco era. Windham Hill was this acoustic, quiet music. And Will, especially, is a finger-style guitarist, founder of the label. And I started listening to his music, his albums. And what would happen from 1978, 1979, all the way until 2003, I would sit in my apartment, various apartments where I would live, and I would play along with this guy's music. I would play along with Will's music. Just the horn and the guitar. Because if you know of his music, or if you ever were to listen to it, it's very spacious. There's a lot of silence, a lot of silence and heart in what he plays. And it fits very nicely with what I play. My style and feeling are very like that. So I always told myself that when I was ready to make my own music and I had enough money to do it, because in 1987 I went from doing top 40 and making $10,000 a year in LA, for like a decade, and I got tired of ramen soup, and I was a limo driver, and one of my limo driver buddies became a stockbroker and convinced me to start doing that, to becoming a financial planner. So by then I said, okay, I was only doing top 40 music, and the band, as far as the band was concerned, all they wanted was the next gig, the next $200 a week gig. That's all they cared about. And I knew that the only way out of that was to do original music.
Exactly.
But in LA, they don't pay you to really, at least to start, when you're starting, they don't pay you to do original music. If anything, you have to pay, and you have to hire the musicians to join you and all that stuff. It's the opposite, right? And I had no money, so fast forward to 2003, I was a successful financial planner and had a successful business at that. And I'm in my cubicle in San Francisco. I'm living in the Bay Area, is where I live now, when I'm not in Mexico or Vermont. And I'm in my cube at this Fortune 250 office company that I was president of a little division of it, And I had, by then, this was about 2003, there was mp3.com was popular. It was one of the first websites back then where you could make an artist page and upload your own music. And they had a global reach. They had a global the ability through streaming, you know, to reach all around the world. And they would
First ones, huh?
huh? One of the first one, exactly. So one of the cool things about that website was they had charts, and I would make music in my basement with my computer and my little horn parts in the little tiny microphone that was there, and nothing in the studio. But I'd add a lot of reverb to it to make it sound, you know, all a lot less distorted like it really was, because I was playing into the little microphone you talk into, like when you get a Windows computer, that little tiny mic.
Yes,
That's what I played my horn into.
They had that. Yes, they had that before.
Right? Exactly. But my songs were #1 in the ambient charts there for like 3 or 4 months in a row. And I'm thinking, well, there must be something here, you know, and I liked it, obviously. And so I'm in my cube and I go to Wyndham Hill's website because of all my years of playing along with that. And by then, they were not an active record label taking new submissions, but Will Ackerman's website was on, link was on that, was on that site. So I went to Will's site and I clicked it and I sent him an email, because it says Will is interested in producing your music. So I said, you know, your music has been the soundtrack to my life for, you know, decades. And I always told myself that when I could afford to hire somebody, I would. So I would love it. I have these songs that are really popular on mp3.com, and I'd like you to listen to them and consider producing them. You know? And he wrote back. And so that, first of all, here I am in my cube, wearing my suit, you know, freaking out that I have in my inbox is an email from Will Ackerman, right? You know, I'm a total fanboy, just total fanboy for years playing along with the guy. So it turns out that he has his studio in his home. I have a cabin in Vermont that I bought back in 1994. So this is 2003. His cabin is about, or his studio is about 45 minutes south of my cabin. So I was going up there that summer, and I told him that, and I came by his place, and we sat there on his porch and had some iced tea, and I gave him the CD with the songs, and then I drove to Boston to fly back to California, and he wrote to me that afternoon, having listened to the songs, and said, he goes, I think your stuff is actually good. And so then in the winter of 2003, we recorded an EP, four songs, and at his studio. And one of the songs, I had the nerve to ask him, can you play something that I can play along with? We can write a song together for this album. And he did at the very end, because I brought the other songs I brought were pre-prepared, you know. But he came in one day with this, what's called a parlor guitar, which is a small guitar given to him by a really amazing artist, the late Michael Hedges, who's, if you listen to some of Michael's stuff, it's just fantastic, amazing. Anyway, so he sits down on the steps inside the studio and he starts picking out a guitar part, and I'm standing next to him, you know, trying to basically not freak out, you know, and then I'm saying, no, not that part. Oh yes, play that part. You know, I'm telling Will what to do, basically, right? You know, shaping the melody line that he's working on, you know. So he does it, goes into the studio, and the way Will works is that you'll record him for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then he counts on an engineer, and he doesn't like to listen to his playback stuff, and he doesn't sit there and edit or mix it ever. He has his engineer and co-producers do that, and then he'll listen to it after it's put together. So he did that, and then I went into the studio and just sat there listening to the guitar part and made up a horn part to go with it, just like I did in my house all those years, right? And that night I was driving home, I was crying, you know, because it's like, oh my God, here's our song, you know, a song with me and Will, right? After all those years of playing along like that, having it sound just like, and the name of the song is At Last. And that's what I named the EP at last, which, sort of signified after all these years, at last I'm able to do my own music, right? So that was the start of, Will has produced probably 5 of my albums, I think, maybe 6. And on every one of them, there's at least 1 or 2 Will and Jeff songs, okay? And they're all, to me, they're always very beautiful, and they're often well received in the marketplace and all that stuff.
Oh yes, we have
So-
Lifetime awards.
Right, thank you. So in 2020, I have a place in Vermont, and I go there every fall. I bring my horn. Have become the house flugelhorn player at Imaginary Road Studios, at Will's Studios.
Okay.
Basically, most of the songs that he works on, if he thinks there could be a horn, he'll ask me to be the guy. So I'm on like 60 or 65 different songs with different artists because of that. So I was up there in the fall of 2020, and I had my horn, and I played a session, and I came back from it, and I'm sitting in my cabin, and I just thought to myself, I'd like to make a whole album of songs with me and Will, basically.
Yeah.
To sort of signify the relationship that I have, because he's become one of my best friends, which is still mind-blowing, from fanboy to brothers, literally, almost, right? And so I asked him, I called him up, I said, listen, would you be up for, because I had no plans to do any music at all. I had nothing written. I was just going to do that session, and it was the pandemic. Nothing was, I wasn't even inspired. All through the pandemic, a lot of people wrote stuff.
Yeah.
I was utterly uninspired for whatever reason. It just, there was too much heaviness or something for me to land anywhere. So I asked him, and he said, yeah. And then I asked him 3 more. I called him back 3 more times. You're sure? Yes. You're sure? Yeah. I was like, okay. All right. I'm going to book some studio time. Well, Tom Eaton, who's the 3rd artist on this album, Brothers, has been Will's co-producer and engineer and multi-instrumentalist for the past decade, working with Will. And we get along really, really well. He's an amazing musician, an amazing engineer, amazing mixer, amazing mastering engineer, all that stuff. Excuse me. So I call up Tom, and Tom has a studio in north of Boston. And so I tell him that Will, my conversation with Will, and I drive down there to his studio with so I booked the time, and it's not inexpensive.
Oh yeah.
I get there, and basically he has his piano keyboard is tuned to a patch that sounds like Will's guitar. And so we're sitting there working up parts. So Tom would start playing these parts as if Will would play them. And I would go out into the studio and make a horn part to go with the piano that sounds like Will.
Yeah.
So we did 6 songs like that. We brought them up the week later to Will's studio. Will hadn't heard them. Will comes in, we play one of the songs. Will takes out one of his guitars, and Will does not use standard tuning. Every song is a different tuning for the strings. So he just picked up the guitar and started tuning the strings so it was in tune with the track that Tom had played and my horn was playing on the piano, and proceeded to play like Will plays. And we didn't say play what Tom played. It's like, here's the vibe, So he started doing it. So anyway, we did that, and we did 6 songs with Will, and then later that week we had 1 week. on Thursday and Friday. Thursday, Will came in with 2 of his own songs with just the guitar parts. And then on Friday, I added my horn to those. So we had 8 songs, basically, which is the album. Tom went back to his studio over the next couple of months through 2020, basically, and added bass and guitar and piano and keyboard, a little bit of percussion, and mixed it and mastered it, and it was released. Well, let me back up a quick second. So very early on, I called it Brothers, because there was this feeling of Will and I. He feels like my brother.
Yeah.
And then Tom, as we were working on this, there was only the 3 of us on the album. I was thinking of like hiring, session people to do the other parts besides the guitar and the horn. I was going to reach out to like Herbie Hancock, and people just go, because I figured you might as well ask, and who knows.
Right.
That's how I ended up working with Nile Rodgers on one of my albums and stuff like that by just asking. And then Tom basically said, well, I could be a side man or just an engineer, but if you really want me to add my artistry, his musical artistry, he goes, I would like to be one of the brothers. So I thought about it a bit, and I said, okay. And Will said, okay, so the 3 of us, equally as artists are, right? So are the brothers, right? And we released it in July of this year. And, the whole Grammy thing, I've entered every album I've ever made since 2005 into the Grammys. And I spent a fair amount of time networking, meeting the various people that are involved in the Recording Academy.
Right.
I've done a lot of projects, not my own and others that have been, entered and all that. I played on a Grammy-winning album and a Grammy nominated album. This season, in addition to Brothers, I'm also on another Grammy-nominated American Roots song from a woman named Linda Chorney, playing the trumpet as a musician there. But for whatever reason, when the nominations came out, there it was, one of the five, and I was in Mexico. I actually was at Home Depot buying lights, and I look at my phone and there's all these messages, and I just started crying, standing there in the aisle crying, crazy. And so now it's sort of sunk in, kind of. And I'm aware enough of the fact that, I don't make music. I don't think really anybody makes music for the award. It's like right. And to see it acknowledged this way, at this level, is incredibly gratifying and fulfilling. It's certainly, I'd be lying if I didn't say didn't want that over all these years, right? I wanted it to happen, So now it has, this part of it at least, and it's just very cool, and to have it be this album. It's like a bookend. Will won a Grammy for Best New Age Album in 2004 for an album of all of his, most popular songs that he re-recorded. It's called Returning was the name of it. And so, we're both older now, and it's like a bookend. This is like a bookend. Will is actually about to release another solo album this year sometime, but if this makes it through to win, it'll just be perfect. It's just perfect.
I'd be rooting for you. I was actually in the office with Marge, and she goes, oh, my friend just got nominated. And I'm going, can I interview him?
Great. I'm glad you. I mean, she told me that, and I'm glad you did. Glad you are.
Yes, because everything that you shared, I could really identify with. Because, like I said earlier, being in the music industry, you don't stop. You just transition to, as you become a better person, your music changes with you.
Well, and the other thing about music, and putting it out into the world, is every once in a while you'll get a note from somebody where they're amazingly affected in one way, like their father just passed away and my song's playing out in the other room, or a person just lost their job and they're sitting there at 2 a.m. And the song comes on the TV, one of my songs, and it gave him hope. And actually, this particular person, I met him at a show a couple months later, after he'd written to me to tell me that, and he had gotten a job and everything was better and all that stuff. But that's the stuff there. And it's I have this phrase. I mean, it's not mine, but it's like, songs are like planting a shade tree under which you'll never sit. Like, they're like these seeds that are out there and somebody finds it and it hits them. It arrives in the right time and you don't even know that, right? You don't even know that.
3 with Jeff Oster next week on VILMA, live in LA. GFN Club of Filipino Network. DIDI Caneda, Miss Asia USA 2019, 2020, and 2021. Here she is. Part 2, DIDI Caneda. DIDI Caneda, Part 2, next week on VILMA, live in LA. You also own your own business, your fitness?
Yes, I actually opened up Vertex Fitness LLC. I'm based in Orange County, California, but I've done the job for about 5 years, and 2019, for tax purposes, and as well as part of growing up, like, personal growth. So I opened my LLC to cater more, because I wanted to have more bigger contracts, and the more structured you are, the more chances you have a bigger contract. So I had a federal contract with the senior wellness programs, and I catered to the 65 onset Alzheimer memory care. So it was a very different experience, and they opened that job to very selective wellness. It was a very specific contract.
Yes.
It was not just the ordinary contract you go to the gym, because we are basically coming in as a behavioral and wellness
Yes.
music teacher for the seniors, especially the wheelchaired clients and the Alzheimer one. It was magical for me. It's like I tell everybody, like, you have to be there to experience and feel what I feel, because these people, even though they're challenged with memory, one thing I learned from them is to feel, like, we may not remember things, but as a human being, one of the strongest memory that we could always remember is to feel and have fun. So, like, I tell everybody, keep having fun, and just maybe it's a brain thing or a chemical imbalance, but if you know how to feel and you know to have fun, and you build so much memories of fun and being happy, like, you'll grow and age happy, and it's the best thing ever.
Plus the music actually triggers so much joy.
And me too, like, it's probably one of the most rewarding, like, win-win, like, job. Like, I teach active seniors from 8 o'clock all the way to like 11, and then my afternoon sessions, because it was my full time.
Yeah.
So from 1:30, after their lunch, they have a little breather. They come for, especially for my sundowners, so they sleep better.
Yeah.
So it physiologically is good for them. So I come there, and it was just like a whole another musical fitness therapy. So for me, I feel really great, even though I'm drained, because I'm the only teacher in front of 20, 15, or sometimes 30 seniors that time. So it was just the best like time. I feel like every day was my first day at work.
Yeah, nothing can replace that feeling of fulfillment and that you give joy to people. I mean, that's irreplaceable.
Absolutely. And I was just like, I'm grateful, and I know I was able to do that like because I found something what I love and fight for it. Even though like I'm a nurse, actually, I had my bachelor's in nursing, and I have so much respect to my co-nurses, but I just took the risk and chance if for my passion. So I'm so grateful to God for giving me and guiding me always with the right people, to pursue and blossom in the passion that becomes like a job,
Do
and it
what you
doesn't feel
love.
like you're working a day.
Yeah. If follow, do what you love what you do.
Absolutely.
And then one of your posts, I was so fascinated. You do belly dancing too? I mean,
Okay,
that was
so
really
actually,
beautiful.
thank you. Actually, belly dancing has been a part of my life since I was in college. So around 16 years old, I started belly dancing as actually a wellness program for women. And for your viewers and for all the women out there, a lot of the belly dancing movements um, are very physiologically good for us, like not just for women, but for men too. A lot of these movements are very functional and very essential for us because we are movers. So a lot of the hip area, the pelvic area, the legs, the strength, those muscles needs to be strengthened in different ways. So that's how I got into belly dancing. And as you go along and be with the fitness side, you slowly build a lot of a different passion. So you know um from that starting point, I've been asked actually to perform. So that's when I started to develop more like, oh, I'm becoming a ballet dancing like artist, like performing artist,
Yeah,
because
you're a
teaching
performing
is
artist.
different from performing artist. And I've never danced in my life. Like all I know, I was an athlete. I know what is conditioning training. So belly dancing was more of a conditional training for me and for my clients. So and I stepped into performing actually in the Philippines in Cebu City. That's where I started. I was one of the original group of individuals, but actually I was actually the original instructor that started in Cebu City in 2006. And that passion grew to just sharing and building a group of women that time, and then it grew from one class to like 30 class. And then I moved here 2010. I didn't dance for a while, and I was sad. I mean, for sure you
Yeah,
understand this as a performing
yeah,
artist. When you
yes.
don't have an outlet to channel your energy and do what you love to do, you somehow feel that, like that emptiness somehow, like, oh, there's something missing. So I prayed. I waited about 2 years, and I go to audition. And being a Filipina is actually hard, and um, to be part of a group, especially belly dancing, is more like European or Latino, Southern American beauties. So the first year I was rejected actually, and I was like, I really want to dance, and I hope I could find like group of individuals that would, like be warm and accepting. And 2012, after 2 years, I just, like that saying, if you don't jump the train, you'll miss the ride. So without experience here in America, but I hold on to my experience back in the Philippines. I said, I'll try. I didn't listen to my fear. I just okay, I just go to audition and be willing. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to perform. Like this is what I really love to do. And and it's a very competitive
Really?
like format actually here in
Oh, okay.
LA and OC, because if you're hired there, every client has a specific look and this ballet, and I'm just so grateful to still do that, like for 8 years now, like going 9 here in America, and being like the Filipina, like only Filipina that has been active in the Beverly Hills and LA area, like on the prime scene. So I take pride of being a Filipina, like like we can do too.
You're so resilient. That's so, so wonderful. And it comes out as you're talking and you're sharing all of your experiences. That is so
Yes.
wonderful. I want to ask you something.
Yes, absolutely. Anything.
Yeah. So, who is your most inspirational person?
Oh, actually, growing up, it's actually I love to watch Oprah. So I grew up watching Oprah, but actually, it comes one of the most the dear one is Princess Diana because
Yeah.
of my name. So when I asked my dad about where did you get my name, I've always been the child that always like curious of like, oh, why or what. So I even little things I ask. I mean, even right now I ask Google, and Princess Diana I've read through, and this one thing people probably don't know, I read a lot, like snippets or like articles or books. So I was a nerd. So she just have so much kindness in her and gentleness, but I read her about her and Oprah together at the same age. So I think both personality inspired me like to be um who I am and what I see my future at that time. I was 10 years old and 11, and I was like, I want to be not just like her but like her too, like because Princess Diana was beautiful, kind and gentle and just very warm, and Oprah, one thing I like Oprah because she was so generous, like to the poor people, like just gives and gives. And I was like, man, I really just want to go big financially to give. Like, I'm the eldest in my family, so giving is very normal to me. It's
Yes,
just
I would
very
say
like
I can identify with that.
every day I get inspired with so many women and just like you, like, but for sure both of them are my two inspiration. Like I cannot pick one or the other.
Yeah, they mesh. That's wonderful. And another question is your favorite quote. What do you like to say normally?
Oh, my
Yeah.
favorite quote.
Yeah.
Um, oh, quote. I read so much that I resonate a lot with a lot of quotes, but one thing I tell everybody is be resilient and be versatile and be patient and be kind. That's it. Like I tell everybody that, I mean, each of us have our own dreams and challenges, and I think people should understand that challenges are part of living, and it's like we have to surpass the challenges like a game, like to proceed and to grow and better ourselves. And at the same time you have to be patient because not all dreams, especially if you have big dreams, like it takes time and kindness, because during the journey of going through that process, like you never really know who you're gonna meet, and your simple act of kindness could, make an impact. It may not be now or later, and I can attest to that. That I was like, whoa, that I didn't even expect that. I'm just like, it's just so, that's what I think of all day. And regardless, before I became Miss Asia USA, I mean, I treat people the same. And when I become Miss Asia USA, people were scared and you're like, you're so the same. I'm like, I'm mature enough to like know and be aware that this is who I am. And when I joined Miss Asia USA, I made sure that that was who I am, really, that I'm resilient, I'm versatile, I'm patient, but at the same time kind, because those qualities, and they mold me to be who I am, and the characters that I've developed myself, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, it kind of like goes into this next question for you.
Uh-huh.
You've already described that, but we want one word that describes you.
Me,
Yes.
me, adaptive.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Yes. um I think that's, I've been through so much. I've been an athlete. I've been with different lifestyle. I've been in so much areas of life that, you know, sometimes you just have to adopt and learn from it, and if one thing doesn't work, and move on forward, and it makes you grow. It made me grow and who I am right now. So and that's it.
Listening to you, you're such a beautiful person inside and out.
Oh, thank
Wow.
you.
Okay.
No.
And finally, do you have a message for our viewers?
Yes, to all your viewers, thank you again for supporting Miss Vilma here. From me, in these tough times, always make sure you spend time praying and be grateful for everything that you have and the people around you, and never give up on your dreams, and be flexible about it, and be positive in everyday life. Life is not perfect, but we need to hold that aspiration and optimism, and act in everything. Do not procrastinate.
Thank you so much. You, Didi, are all heart. So I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I love spontaneous interviews. And I tell everybody, I'm not perfect, but I always speak what I can from my heart. And hopefully the message sends out to you, and hope you feel me, and, just keep going, guys. And if they could always follow me on Instagram.
And coming up on Vilma Live in LA, check this out. Jeremy Roy, Goodbye in Europe on Vilma Live in LA. And such an impressive resume. And did you know he could also sing?
Hadlang, mananatili kang mahal sa aking tunay.
So join us on Vilma Live in LA on the GFN Channel, January 22 with Jeremy Roy from Kabayan, Europe. Concon Sinyel, International Events Director on Vilma Live in LA. He travels the globe directing special events. And did you know that he's the person behind Miss Universe held in the Philippines? So join me for a one-on-one interview with Concon Sinyel on Vilma Live in LA. And thank you so much for joining me on the show, Vilma Live in LA. We had such an amazing time, and thank you to our fabulous guests, Katrina Kusa, aka Wig, and Jeff Oster, plus DIDI Caneda. And most of all, you guys were super great. So I'm going to see you again next week. In the meantime, you guys stay safe out there. Be kind, be generous, be patient, be loving. And, well, from me, from my heart to you,